Those words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. I stared at the divorce papers scattered across my kitchen table. My husband of 12 years had just served me with documents I never saw coming. My name is Rebecca Martinez, and 24 hours ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. I run a boutique financial consulting firm, built it from scratch after my MBA. $7 million sits in my business accounts. Money I earned through late nights, weekend calls, and 15-hour days, while David played golf with his buddies. The papers trembled in my hands. David wanted half of everything: my company, my savings, even my grandmother's house that I inherited. But here's what he didn't know. I had discovered his plan 3 weeks earlier. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. I came home early from a client meeting. David's voice drifted from his home office. The door was cracked open just enough. "The lawyer says we can get at least $3 million from her business alone," he whispered into his phone. "Maybe more if we play this right." My blood turned to ice water. "Yeah, I know she's been good to me. But Jennifer, this is our chance. Your divorce cost you everything. I'm not making the same mistake." Jennifer, his ex-girlfriend from college, the one who had been texting him for months. I pressed myself against the wall. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he'd hear it. She trusts me completely, still puts everything in joint accounts like an idiot. By the time she realizes what's happening, we'll be in the Bahamas. The floor felt like it was dissolving under my feet. David wasn't just leaving me. He was planning to destroy me. That night, I lay in bed next to the man I'd loved for over a decade. He snored peacefully while I stared at the ceiling. Every memory felt like a lie. Every kiss, every anniversary, every time he said he loved me. Had any of it been real? The next morning, David left for his usual Saturday golf game. I went straight to work, not to my office, to my bank. "Mrs. Martinez, you want to move all $7 million today?" My banker, Patricia, looked concerned. "That's quite unusual." "Family emergency," I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "I need everything transferred to my personal offshore account, the one in the Cayman Islands." Patricia nodded. She'd helped me set up that account years ago for international clients. Perfectly legal, completely private. "It'll take about 2 hours to process everything." Perfect. While the transfer is processed, I drove to my lawyer's office. Margaret Chen had handled my business contracts for 5 years. She was sharp as a razor and twice as cutting. "Rebecca, you look terrible. What's wrong?" I told her everything. David's phone call, the secret plan, Jennifer. Margaret's face hardened with each detail. "That bastard! How long do we have?" "He's meeting with his lawyer Monday morning. I heard him confirm the appointment." "Then we move fast. I'm filing a motion to freeze all joint assets. Today." "Can you do that?" "Watch me." By Sunday evening, every joint account was locked down. David couldn't access a penny without court approval. I'd also moved my business assets to a subsidiary company he knew nothing about. But I wasn't done. Monday morning arrived like a ticking bomb. David hummed in the shower, probably dreaming about his upcoming payday. I sat at the kitchen table, divorce papers spread in front of me like evidence at a crime scene. He walked downstairs in his best suit, the one I'd bought him for our anniversary last year. "Big day at work?" I asked sweetly. "Just some boring meetings." He kissed my forehead, the same spot he'd kissed 1,000 times before. It felt like being kissed by a snake. After he left, I drove to his lawyer's office building. I didn't go inside. I just sat in my car across the street and waited. At exactly 10 a.m., David's BMW pulled into the parking garage. 30 minutes later, my phone exploded. "What the hell did you do?" David's voice was pure rage. I'd never heard him sound like that before. "I don't know what you mean, honey." "The accounts, Rebecca. All our money is frozen. My lawyer can't file anything." "That's strange. Maybe you should call the bank." I did call the bank. They said you filed some kind of emergency motion, something about protecting marital assets from fraud. I smiled. Margaret was a genius. Well, that does sound serious. Fraud is such an ugly word. The line went quiet. I could practically hear his brain working. Rebecca, we need to talk. I agree. Come home. He was there in 20 minutes. His face was red with fury and panic. You can't do this. Those are our accounts. Our accounts? I laughed. David, I earned 90% of that money. My business, my clients, my work. We're married. It's community property. You're absolutely right, which is why I'm protecting it from your girlfriend Jennifer. His face went white as paper. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Should I play the recording? I held up my phone. I'd been recording our conversation from the moment he walked in. What recording? The one from last Tuesday, when you told Jennifer how you were going to take me for $3 million and run off to the Bahamas with her. David collapsed into a chair like someone had cut his strings. Rebecca, I can explain. Oh, please do. I'm dying to hear this. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again like a fish gasping for air. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. What wasn't? The part where you planned to steal my life's work? Or the part where you were going to abandon me for your ex-girlfriend? Tears started rolling down his cheeks. Real tears. I never stopped loving her. Even after we got married, I tried, Rebecca. I really tried. The honesty hit me harder than his betrayal. At least now I knew the truth. Then why didn't you just leave? Why the elaborate scheme? Because I'm broke. His voice cracked. Those golf games, the expensive dinners, the new car. I've been using credit cards for everything. I owe over $200,000. My mouth fell open. 200,000? How is that possible? Gambling. Online poker, mostly. I kept thinking I could win it back before you found out. The man I'd married was a stranger, a liar, a cheat, and apparently a gambling addict. So your plan was to steal my money to pay your debts and run away with Jennifer? He nodded miserably. David, you could have just asked me for help. We could have worked through this together. I was ashamed. And Jennifer, she made me remember who I used to be, before all the debt and failure. For just a moment, I felt sorry for him, this broken man crying at my kitchen table. Then I remembered his voice on that phone call, cold, calculating, calling me an idiot. The pity evaporated. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to sign these divorce papers. You're going to waive any claim to my business or inheritance, and you're going to move out today. Rebecca, please, I have nowhere to go. You have Jennifer. She doesn't know about the debt. If she finds out, then I guess you better figure that out. I slid the revised divorce papers across the table. Margaret had worked all night to prepare them. Sign them, David. He picked up the pen with shaking hands. What about my debts? I can't pay them back without stealing my money? That's not my problem anymore. He signed his name on every page. Each signature felt like a weight lifting off my chest. There's one more thing, I said. I pulled out a manila envelope and dumped its contents on the table. Photographs, printed text messages, bank statements showing his gambling losses. Insurance policy, in case you try to contest the divorce or claim I hid assets. David stared at the evidence of his betrayal spread across our kitchen table. You've been planning this for weeks. Just like you were planning to destroy me. He stood up slowly, like an old man. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. You made sure of that. David packed 2 suitcases and left that afternoon. He didn't say goodbye. I watched his BMW disappear down our street for the last time. 12 years of marriage, gone in a single day. But I wasn't sad. I was furious. The next morning, I called Patricia at the bank. I want to move the money back from the Caymans. but not to the old accounts. Where would you like it transferred? I'm opening a new business, Martinez Financial Recovery Services. We're going to help people who've been financially betrayed by their spouses. That's very specific. I have very specific experience. Within a month, I had my first client. A woman whose husband had emptied their retirement accounts to fund his girlfriend's startup. We recovered 80% of her money through forensic accounting and aggressive legal action. My second client was a man whose wife had been slowly transferring money to her brother's fake investment company. We got it all back, plus damages. Word spread quickly. Betrayed spouses started calling from across the country. People who thought they had no recourse, no hope of justice. I gave them both. 6 months after David left, my new company had recovered over $15 million for clients. The local news wanted to do a story about my work. What drives you to help these people? The reporter asked. Everyone deserves to know the truth about their marriage before it's too late. And what about your own marriage? Any regrets? I thought about David. Last I heard, Jennifer had indeed left him when she discovered his debts. He was living in a studio apartment and working at a car dealership. No regrets. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is discovering who someone really is. The interview aired on a Thursday night. By Friday morning, I had 50 new calls. One of them was from David. Rebecca, I saw you on TV. You look good. What do you want, David? I wanted to apologize, really apologize. I know I hurt you. Yes, you did. I also wanted you to know that I'm getting help, gambling addiction counseling. And I got a job. I heard. Maybe we could have coffee sometime? Just to talk? I looked out my office window at the city skyline. My company occupied the entire 20th floor now, 23 employees working to help people rebuild their lives after betrayal. I don't think that's a good idea. Rebecca, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I am sorry. For everything. His voice sounded different, smaller, more honest than I'd heard in years. I believe you are sorry, David, but sorry doesn't undo the damage. I know. I just wanted you to know that I realize what I lost. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away. Yes, you did. After I hung up, I sat in my office for a long time. Outside, the sun was setting over the mountains, the same mountains David and I used to hike together when we were young and still in love. But that woman was gone, the woman who trusted blindly and loved completely. In her place was someone stronger, someone who helped other people fight back when their worlds fell apart. My assistant knocked on the door. Mrs. Martinez, your 6 o'clock appointment is here. Another betrayed spouse, another chance to restore some balance to the universe. Send them in. I opened the case file. A teacher whose husband had been stealing from their joint accounts to fund his gambling addiction. Some stories never change, but now I was in a position to change the endings. That night, I drove home to my new house. Smaller than the one I'd shared with David, but every inch of it was mine. No lies hiding in the corners, no secrets poisoning the air. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my back porch. The stars were coming out, bright and clear in the desert sky. My phone buzzed with a text from my newest client. Thank you for believing me when no one else would. I smiled and typed back. Everyone deserves someone in their corner. As I hit send, I realized something profound. David's betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had revealed who I really was underneath all those years of being the perfect wife. I was someone who fought back, someone who refused to be a victim, someone who turned her pain into purpose. The $7 million was still mine, but more importantly, so was my life. And I was just getting started. 2 years later, Martinez Financial Recovery Services had offices in 12 states. We'd recovered over $100 million for clients and sent dozens of financial predators to prison, I never remarried, never even dated seriously. Some people thought that was sad. I thought it was perfect. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of all: the only person you can truly count on is yourself. And sometimes, that's more than enough. David called one more time about a year ago. He was engaged to someone new, someone who didn't know about his past. "Should I tell her?" he asked. "That's between you and your conscience." "What would you do?" I thought about all the clients I'd helped, all the people who wished someone had warned them before it was too late. I'd tell her the truth. She deserves to know who she's marrying. Even if it ruins everything? Especially then. He never called again. I heard through mutual friends that the engagement ended shortly after. The woman had thanked him for his honesty, but couldn't move forward knowing his history. It was the first truly decent thing David had done in years. Maybe people really can change, but I'd learned not to bet my future on that possibility. Instead, I bet on myself, and for the first time in my adult life, it felt like the safest investment I'd ever made. The divorce papers that once seemed like the end of my world had actually been my liberation. $7 million moved in secret had become the foundation of something bigger than I'd ever imagined. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's becoming so successful that your betrayer becomes irrelevant to your story. David was a chapter in my past, a painful but necessary lesson about trust and self-reliance. But the rest of the book, that was mine to write, and I was writing it one recovered dollar, one saved marriage, one protected client at a time. The woman who discovered her husband's betrayal in a kitchen full of divorce papers was gone. In her place stood someone who made sure other people's stories had better endings. That transformation was worth more than $7 million. It was priceless.